lot of times in Photoshop, right, you're limited to specific sizes. Say, like when you create a document, you set up a certain dimension size, right? And then when you want to increase the size or decrease the size, it'll end up pixelated if you go too far over. So vector graphics scale well, so like SVG files. And usually you can make them in Illustrator. You can also actually make them in Photoshop. And the tool set is pretty similar. But so today I was just going to do an example of how to make basically the process behind taking like a real life object or a real life photo and turning it into like a graphic essentially. So I'm just going to go off this as an example. I don't know what it is. T-shirt. Okay, well, let's see if it's open my recent files. Basically, I was going to go off the Sproul, like the design I submitted for Sproul Landing T-shirt. So that is somewhere here, which I need to find. So it's Sproul Landing. So basically, I guess the concept behind everything is that when you first look at something, you can reduce everything to simple colors and shapes. Wow. Photo album. So basically, I submitted this design for the contest. I don't think it ended up winning, but they haven't released it yet. So this is supposed to be blue and orange. But yeah, I did like these graphics from scratch, and they're pretty simple to make actually. So I'm just gonna like go over how to do that real quickly. So let's say you want to make like a spaceship, right? So let's like Google a photo of a spaceship or a space shuttle, not spaceship. So when I get some like photos of ships taking off, I'm going to use this one as my reference. Actually, that's kind of small pixel size. So I'm gonna use this one because this one's a larger image. It's like 3,000 pixels tall. So I'm gonna use this one. And basically, I mean, the colors are kind of hard to tell, but like when you look at this, you can divide it into shapes, right? So essentially, the back cylinder, this is gonna be like basically a curve. Like basically, like if you think of it in really basic terms, this is 3 rectangles in the back, a triangle, a rectangle, and some additional rectangles at the bottom, right? So using those basic shapes, you can start working and creating your design. So I'm gonna copy this into Illustrator, just so I have like a reference to use. Illustrator, so that's the nice thing about Illustrator, because it's all based around vector graphics, it's really easy to resize stuff and like redo your document. So like in Photoshop, you would have to like change the numbers, but in Illustrator, you can literally click edit artboards, and like you can drag around the size of your creation, I guess. So we're just gonna leave it large because there's no harm in that right now. We can always readjust it later. Okay. So I'm gonna paste this photo in, Command G, and shrink it a bit. So one cool thing about Illustrator is that if you're really lazy, or not if you're really lazy, but if you do have something and you don't want to manually work on it, you can actually click on it and hit this button up here, which says image trace. It's a larger image, and it'll literally like create a vector based on it. So like this is black and white, but I could have chosen like a 6-color preset, right? And then it will analyze the photo, which takes a little bit longer because this is colors and it's a large photo. Wait for it. Boom. See how it kind of has that graphic quality? It's been reduced to 6 colors. and then you can actually click expand right here, and it'll turn this into kind of a complex like shape essentially that you can then go on and edit. So like this is now like each color is kind of an individual shape. See if I click on this, I can kind of drag this around separately, right? So that's the lazy way of doing it. If you do want to stylize stuff and you want to go about it really quickly, it can still give you some pretty cool looking stuff. But we're gonna do this manually today. So you can get that, it's like a simple kind of line graphic style, I guess. So start with your layers, start with what's in the background, right? So that's gonna be the main, like, I think that's the fuel tank, right? So literally, I'm just gonna take the pen tool, and I'm gonna assume that this like comes down here somewhere, right? So I'm gonna hold down shift so the line is straight. See, if I don't hold down shift, I can put the next point anywhere. If I hold down shift, it's incremented by 45 degrees. I'm gonna hold down shift, I'm gonna leave that there, or like to the end, and then I'm gonna put it up so it aligns with the back fuel tank, sorry. I'm gonna put that point there, put this point so it aligns with, I can't point anything, but so it aligns with that point. It's kind of on the same level. And then hold down shift and connect it back together. So now I have a shape. It's a complete shape, I can move it around, it's pretty cool. Wow, okay. So I guess I'm gonna start by changing the color, which isn't gonna be very applicable on the screen. So I just chose an orange color, hopefully you can tell. Maybe if I like, never mind. Well, that's my bad, okay. So that's an orange color, so okay, Mike, I wanna match the shape of the space shuttle. So these are layers, right? You have layers in Illustrator and Photoshop. So this is obviously an edge when you want it to be a curve to match that. So to do that, you can go to the anchor point tool. So basically your shape is made up of points, right? And the lines, straight lines will connect all the points of your shape. But by using anchor point, you can start to add curves to your shape. So see how if I drag this, it starts making a curve. I can also, the reason it's called anchor point is if you click on the point itself, you can kind of adjust the curves like this, like how far the handle out is, just how far the curve is. But right now, all we want to do is change it so the top is curved. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to curve this out. So it kind of matches, right? I'm going to curve this out. So as you can see, this one's slightly off, right? Like we're a little bit off, but that's fine because no one's going to know what the image originally looks like, right? They're just going to look at what your final one looks like. So I guess the most important thing right here is to make these two symmetrical down the middle. So there you have it, there's your back tank, right? Now let's do the two side tanks. So because these are mostly rectangular, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use the rectangle tool right here, which is on the side actually, which you can't see because it's slightly cut off. Rectangle tool, right there. So I'm gonna make a rectangle from, also this is a lot easier if you have a mouse. I don't. So that'll be like, let me see how it extends to the bottom. See, Illustrator sometimes if you have big files and you're running a lot of graphics intensive stuff, will kind of glitch out a bit. That's fine. So here's the rectangle. I'm gonna make it so it matches the height of that cone. Boom. Okay, we're in. But you're like, Mike, the top is supposed to be pointed. This isn't pointed. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add an anchor point here. And then, so the key thing in Illustrator is the black arrow moves like entire shapes and paths. And the white arrow right here lets you edit individual points. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on this point and stretch it out. So it's like that. Cool. But I mean, it's still a little bit long, right? So I'm gonna shorten this and move it down so it like matches where the actual cone is. Kind of just match where that point is in the image. Like that. Cool. So that gives you one. And because we know this is a machine, this is going to be symmetrical, right? So I'm just going to copy this shape, or not that shape. I'm going to copy this entire shape and move it over so that it forms the left side as well. So now you have your two, I guess they're boosters, I don't know, not sure. I'm not a mechanical engineer. And you know what, because these are white, let's make them white. But let's leave an outline so there's a differentiation, you know? So we're gonna make the fill white, and then the second thing right here is the stroke. The stroke is like the border color. We're gonna keep that orange and increase the size of it a little bit. So that's 3 points. So I'm gonna do the same to the other side. It's gonna be 3 points. Cool, so now we have like our two ends to that. So like if we compare this to what's going on here, like you can kind of see it starting to come together to what I have here. And you're like, okay, so the tops of these should be kind of flat, because that's what the actual, if we put this on top, right, that's what the actual image looks like. So I'm gonna hide that again. So that's easy, you can just add another anchor point, like say right here, and right here, and then you can end up just readjusting points, right? Because now that you have a point here, you can make that flat, make that flat as well. There you go, there's your two like points. So now the main, I guess, meat of it is we have to put in the shuttle, right? So I'm gonna use the pen tool. And I'm gonna separate it into the back of the shuttle, which is like the whole thing, and then kind of the front, like, I guess this area, so the wings from the body, essentially. So I'm gonna start out with the back. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna, oops. So you have to watch it when you're doing this. So remember that I'm still on the add point button. I wanna go back to the normal pen tool. Otherwise you can only add. So I'm gonna start right here. And I'm just gonna like kind of follow. Remember, you just kind of want to simplify this shape. You can worry about the specifics of how like it's put together later, and you can always add anchor points and all that. So I don't know, something like that. So that's kind of your basic shuttle shape. Did we get it? Yeah. And if we take this away, oh, we can say it's kind of coming together, not really. So first of all, we're gonna wanna make this front part bend. So I think I'm gonna make this 2 points, right? Because it's like wide enough that it'll probably be useful if I do that. So like before, I'm just gonna rearrange this point. Oh, looks like I already have another point here. But yeah, I'm gonna rearrange this point. So like this goes, whoops. Yeah, this goes to the side like that. This is more over here. Maybe I'll do it to the nose. Okay, so that's kind of getting there, and then we're gonna add the curve in so the nose is semicircular. Boom, right? Click and drag, easy stuff. This is slightly curved out, if I remember correctly, right? So we can maybe curve this a bit, and make sure you're selected on the right layer. But looks like I didn't actually finish this path. So what happens when you don't finish a path in Illustrator, right? So let's say I make pen tool, I do this. So it looks like a complete shape, but in reality it's only a line and it's getting filled in. So if I do a stroke instead of a fill, it'll show me which part isn't connected. So it looks like I forgot to connect these 2 points, right? This one aren't connected. I'm actually not trained in Illustrator professionally, so I'm not entirely certain how, oh, no, okay, we can just click connect, I think. Yep, there we go, okay, we connected it.
Nice.
Boom, okay, we're all good. So I'm gonna go back to the pen tool. I'm gonna click on the shape and just reduce this. I think we were doing 3 points for outlines, right? If I recall correctly. Yeah, that's about right. And then I'm gonna add a fill to it, so it's gonna be white. So now you kind of have your basic shape of the shuttle. We can make some minor adjustments. So like, We know that the wings are curved a bit, they're not corners. So you can kind of extend that out. And literally all I'm doing is I'm extending and pulling. Like you can just follow the shape that the curve makes, kind of adjust it so it matches. So that's kind of curved right there. The bottom we can worry about like this stuff later because we're just doing the base layer right now, right? So think of, like before, think of your object in basic shapes and basic layers. Don't try to do everything at once, then it gets really complicated and discouraging. Okay, so we have, I guess, the wings now. So now we can start working on this body part. And we're gonna do a rectangle again. So honestly, actually, I could have just started the wings down here. I didn't need this, because this is gonna end up getting probably covered up by what the body will do. So make a rectangle that matches what the body is doing. And I think I might just be able to get away with purely extending this. Yeah, I was able to do that. Okay, cool. So now this kind of, we have our body and our wings. I'm gonna move this over a bit so it's centered, right? Because yeah, this is a little bit off. So I'm just gonna use my arrow keys and move it. So it's centered now. And if we take away the image, we're good in there, right? So I'm gonna move the image back up just to check like where we are. So now we need our two little fire things, and let's put in a black nose as well. So I'm gonna use the add anchor point and add points to this path, which actually didn't work. Okay. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm just gonna make a eccentric shape for the nose. I'm gonna put these two out, and that. So I'm gonna have to rearrange this so it matches the shape of the nose again. So extend that out so it matches. And what's nice about Illustrator is it'll snap to your existing stuff. It's smart, so it'll know that you're trying to like align with it in line or something. So there's our nose cone. I guess we can put in a curve for like the cockpit windows, right? So I'm just gonna put in like a straight line, straight black box right here, and then curve that out. Curve that out. Okay, so now we kind of have our window, right? Now obviously there are smaller details that you can add in, so if you wanted to end up dividing this so it actually is like a window, you can use like a white line, right, and divide it in between. But for now, I think that's okay. I'm gonna keep it like that. So this is what we have so far. Kind of spaceshipy, pretty cool. So now, like I said before, we're gonna work on the bottom, like flame things. It's a very bad description of it. So let's get to work on those. I'm going to, so just like before, super simple. I'm gonna use the pen tool for this because they're a little slightly different. So we're just gonna do one like that, point there, and like that. So with that, you can convert points again. Open this. So it's curved a little bit. So that wasn't perfect, right? I'm gonna move this point down right here so we can have a little bit more of a smooth curve, and move this one down actually too so it's like flat. Okay, so that's like, it's an okay thing, right? I'm gonna make it white. I'm just gonna take off. And so, like before, this is symmetrical. So I'm just gonna copy and paste and then drag it over. So it's mirroring itself. Maybe a little more. Cool. So that's cool. And then we have the middle little like, it has a purpose. I think it stabilizes the plane. It's like a fin right there, so that's pretty simple. Looks like a diamond. That fits right into the pen tool. I can just make a diamond. Cool. And I'm gonna move this so it's matching that way, and this so it's kind of everything's chill. So I mean, this is kind of personal preference. I don't think that looks super great. I'm gonna maybe like curve it a bit. It makes the bottom of the plane a little bit too busy. Just a little bit too much stuff going on. And it looks like I accidentally put an extra point here, so that's also pretty annoying. But I'm just gonna maybe curve this a bit. Or something, I don't know. That did not go well. I guess we'll leave it like this for now. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's okay. If I had time, I would like go back and work on that part. But like, look at that. Like with a bunch of simple shapes, we're like almost done with creating what this is gonna look like. And honestly, we can obscure the bottom because that's just gonna be smoke, right? So if we went back to this, I didn't bother working on how it connected. I just extended those a little bit farther. Oh, I mean, I guess, so like, if you look at this, these two like fire cones, there's a name for them, I feel. These two things are black, so I guess we can make like quick, just like shapes for those. Extend those so they're curved, and make the fill of these shapes black. So there you go. Extend that out, flip it over like we did before, mirror it, and put that where it matches. Remember, we're looking for symmetricality here, right? So you don't have to match the image exactly, you want to match your design. So those are like the two little flame things, and then now let's say we want to put some smoke in, and like maybe extend this down to the bottom of the tank. Boom. Easy. Right there. So now you have a pretty good representation of a spaceship. Like I'm pretty sure people will know that's a spaceship. Personal preference, I think the wings should maybe look a little bit wider. Even if that's not completely like realistically correct, I think it looks a little better. You have a little more balance with the tall and then a wide flared bottom. Cool, so now we can put in like some smoke, right? To do that, and literally I'm gonna use the pen tool again. I'm just gonna make like kind of jagged edges right here. And then I'm gonna use the anchor point tool, just curve these out. Try to make these round. Oops. Something like that. This isn't perfect. So now I can move this down so it kind of covers up the ship a little bit, because like the bottom of our ship isn't perfect, it looks kind of weird. That's fine, because we can cover it up with smoke. And then to add like the little bits inside, same as before. Oh, and you can also use the curve pen tool. So that actually would have been way easier when I was making my smoke, right? Because this will curve it for you and you don't have to go back and readjust it. So I'm gonna actually use that to put in the little things. Like that. And maybe some, there's a way to stop this. Okay, you press escape to stop it from continuing to do stuff. Escape. Something like that. Yeah, so now we kind of have like a basic smoke cloud. This one looks kind of janky, versus this one is a little bit more like puffy, curved. But yeah, so that's kind of it. We just made a spaceship.
Nice.
And yeah, so I guess the basic concept of things is, even if something looks pretty complex, obviously mechanical objects are gonna be easier than living things. So like koala. I mean, this still wouldn't be super hard, right? Obviously the texture with the fur is gonna be harder to do, but if I was looking at this is a circle. head is a big circle, the other ear is another big circle. Circle, circle, like ellipse type thing, a curve. If you take those basic shapes, you can just make something from them. So just like we did with the space shape. Boom. Okay, so now we have this. Let's say I want to do something with it, maybe add some text, right? Illustrator, I don't know, blasting off. And then increase the font size, sorry, to like 100. So when it comes to font choices, how do I pick those? If it's a theme I'm going for, so this is kind of like space exploration, right? So I might Google search stuff to get kind of inspired. So NASA always has their classic logo. That's a little bit retro, which is cool, but maybe that's not what I'm looking for here, right? Because this picture is simple and kind of minimalistic. It's definitely not a retro style, so I don't want to really go with the retro font. So maybe if I pick something like SpaceX, I don't know. Yeah, it's a little bit more modern. It brings you in. And then you can, there's actually a lot of forums, so you can literally Google, like, what font does SpaceX use? I don't remember the password, Jim. Because I know I changed it. Okay, that's it. And I have a bunch of fonts. So if you ever need fonts, so I usually kind of just play around. This one would maybe work okay, and maybe it would work something like this would be more of a sports font versus like a sci-fi space type thing. Maybe something italicized, right? I'm gonna go with. Well, I mean this works. Ailerons. It's kind of like that alien vibe, I think, like from the movie. I'm just gonna increase that size. 180 or something. No, let's not make that 180. That 120. So you're like, oh, but Mike, the spacing is screwed up, right? Like, why is there so much space between the letters? And that's part of the font itself. Is it's supposed to be spaced out. But what about between these two lines? Like, that's a pretty big space right there. So to adjust that, you just go to paragraph, and you click on. Just kidding, it's not paragraph. It is character. Yeah, and see how you can, so with this, if you ever try to fit a lot of stuff on a graphic and it doesn't, like slightly doesn't fit, like with this you can change the distance, you can change like the distance between the letters like that, right? Increase them, decrease them. You can also change the distance between each line. So we're gonna make that a little bit closer and probably center it. And then right here, let's say for some reason this is the theme of the Circle K meme. So we've been using Carla as a font for Circle K like intro text. So I'm gonna do that like week 56, week 8, GM, Kinsey. So, oh man, where did that text go? It's because remember back when I changed the spacing, I took it off auto. So right now it's 100 out when it should, when the font is only like 50. So I'm just gonna change that back to auto, and there you go. And it's gonna be like Kinsey 1220p at 6 p.m. or something like that. I'm just gonna extend the text box so it's a little bit further, everything matches, boom. So that's like kind of the basic thought process between how you make a graphic like that. And that was pretty quick, right? It was like half an hour. So if you had more time, you could obviously add more to this. You could add a structure behind it, or planets, or a moon. Like this could be in space. Actually, no, it wouldn't be in space because it's taking off. But you know, you could add details to it. Yeah. And just like with the font too, you wanna, honestly, the internet is great. You can find inspiration from that. You can go online, decide, find inspiration. Also good companies, like I think I've said before. I like this site a lot because it keeps you in touch with what's going on in the branding world. So I think this is going to need a day. Yeah, okay, so that's the post-election post, I guess. But yeah, they have like Samuel Adams had a new logo. Some of them are okay, some of them are bad. Zendesk, stuff like that. And like, so I sometimes go on this website for inspiration because it has pretty good like how companies are branding themselves, like Qantas, I don't know. And if this doesn't, so this is more branding stuff. If you ever want inspiration for more graphic-y stuff, Behance is always a great resource. I think it's by Adobe, and just people put their creations on here. So you find some pretty cool stuff. If you're looking for something like more so like HH Design is a pretty good.
HH Design is pretty cool.
So yeah, HH Design. If you're looking for stuff on web, or if you, I mean, like they'll review your resume too if you want them to. It's pretty cool. It's like this guy. I mean, you can like this guy posted like an app screen that he created and asked for input, and then people gave input. He's like, okay, well now I updated it. Now it looks like this. Or like people post their resumes, just like general design news. So this is more like general branding stuff versus getting down and dirty and creating a graphic like we did. But yeah, hopefully that helped. Does anybody have any questions?
Oh yeah, could you show again how you, like when you had the rectangle and the tip, how you like made it rounded like that,
Oh, yeah,
the
like,
green thing?
Like this one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So when I make a rectangle, I have it here, right? So a rectangle is going to have 4 points, right? So if I go to the arrow view, you can see that this rectangle has 1, 2, 3, or that's a bad view. Looks like it is 8. This is 4 points, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you think about a curve, right? If you look at this, think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5th point at the top, right? That's where stuff converges. So that means you're going to need another point on your rectangle. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the pen tool and hold it down so that it's an add anchor point tool. And then you can just add it in the middle here. And then what I did was I used the white arrow. So I moved this point out.
Oh.
So now it's like that. And then I moved to the the anchor point tool. And I just kind of, so this is actually different from what I did. You can curve it out like that. Or if you, like this gives you a little bit more control, or you can just literally use the convert point, or the anchor point button, and drag it out like that.
Oh,
so
nice.
Both work. But like this is if you want one curve, like if the curve was a little bit more complex, then maybe we'd add additional points right on here. Add anchor point, put one there, and then adjust that. But like, you know, if something was like it curved a little in and then out, I don't know. But yeah, so it's just the anchor point tool. So you can see like, this is, even if you have no idea what to do in Illustrator, like we only used a few tools, right? We used the arrow tools, the pen tool, the text, which is pretty easy, and the shape tool, right? So, I mean, I know there are a lot of options, and this can be really intimidating, but like, you can create something cool, even if you're just using basic options in the program. So, yeah, like if I wanted to add a gradient to this, if I wanted this to go from like orange to yellow, I could use this tool. Obviously, this monitor is not going to show anything, so I'm not going to try. But see, I just changed that to a gradient.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, like, if you do want to learn how to do something, Google it. There will be a lot of helpful instructions. Have any other questions?
How'd you do the lazy way at the beginning again?
Oh, yeah, so literally you make, go to the rectangle, do this, and then you go to the pen tool again, right? And you know how you can hold it down to show different options? You choose the anchor point tool, and just click on the edge, right? And drag.
No, I mean, how did you, like, just take the image and then make Illustrator
Oh,
thing?
yeah, okay. So that might work better. Yeah, okay, so let's find the image again. You know what, let's do this image. So let's find a photo of our
Nice.
so we're gonna copy the image. So you just paste it in. Then you click on the image, so you have this bar up at the top, and you click image trace. And that'll give you, so this was black and white, and if I did, you can do like sketch start. And it's mainly for like if you want to scan stuff in, right? This makes it a lot more easy to do, because it gives you kind of a template to work off. I could do like technical drawing, which this obviously isn't. So like if you, this is useful if like you draw something, you want to input it, you want to make it a digital version. It makes it a lot easier than manually doing it. But yeah, so like 3 colors, that'll stylize it so the photo is only 3 colors. And cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and like you just wanted his face or something, you just. Oh, okay, and then after you do that, if you want to actually make an vector point and be able to adjust it, you just hit expand. And that'll give you all your individual shapes. So I can like drag this in. I think this was gray, right?
Oh.
Your face is blue. Yeah, but it's pretty simple. Delete all of this. Or, well, I mean, it's not gonna kill you. Yeah. Any other questions, or just like stuff I didn't do that you'd be interested in? Oh, I guess one useful thing is, let's say you have a shape you want to cut it in half. Let's say I wanted to make this part like orange and this part white. You can do this multiple ways. You can use the knife tool, or not the knife tool, it's not the knife tool. Where'd it go? This, the knife tool's right here. You can just cut through stuff. And boom, now you can separate this.
Oh, nice.
If you want to do it in a more precise way, let's say you want to cut a circle out of something or like a curve that you've already made. So let's say I have a line like this, it's kind of curved, and I want to make sure that it cuts in an exact way, right? So if I click on this, and I click on the thing that I want to cut, then I go to View, so it's under Window and Pathfinder. It'll show you this little dialog. So this is very useful actually. It allows you to combine shapes, like subtract shapes from each other, intersect them and stuff. So I'm gonna use the divide tool. So I'm gonna click divide, boom, that just divided this shape by the line that I have. Right? And like I could, if this was a rectangle, let's say I wanted to like cut a rectangle out of the middle. I could put that, or let's say I wanted to cut Albert space out of the middle, right? So, get it so I had to use it. Okay, so, like, this isn't gonna be exact, right? Because, let's say I just want an eye, right? So I'm gonna select, let's do his ear. Say I want the ear, right? So I'm gonna select all the portions, all the shapes that make up the ear. Copy this over, paste it here, and I'm actually going to unite these so it's kind of one silhouette. Cool, so now I can drag this here into the thing. If I select both this and this, I can hit minus front, and boom, now this space shuttle has like an imprint of an ear in it. So I mean that tool is actually really useful. It allows you to divide stuff. It allows you to work with different like portions of a shape.
Wait, how did you take all the pieces of the ear and make them into one object?
Oh, so all I did was also using this. The first option is unite. So as long as you select everything and click unite, it'll combine them into one shape. And when you're selecting multiple shapes, all you have to do is hold down the shift key. Like that'll allow you to select multiple elements and drag them around.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Any other questions?
Is that the recommended way of, like, let's say you have a design you really like and you want to copy and paste it to another design? Is like the shift and the unite method like your recommended way of doing that? Or?
Yeah. And the nice thing about doing stuff in Illustrator is, like I said before, it's a vector graphic, right? So that way, the thing I usually like doing is I make the graphic, or like the individual, the art, right, in Photoshop. And then I make the art in Illustrator, and then I copy it into Photoshop to lay it out. If I have like multiple things, so I can paste it as a smart object, which is probably the best option because then you can still edit the Illustrator file, or you can like do it as a shape layer. And now, well, Photoshop just crashed. It'll post it as a shape, and then you can resize it at your will, and it'll still retain its quality.
How did you paste in Photoshop? Is it on your file or?
You can actually just Control C, Control V in Photoshop.
Nice.
Or you can save the file, right? So I would save this as an Illustrator file and then just like drag the file into Photoshop. So like, Photoshop crashed. But, yeah. Any other questions? No? Good? Cool. I'm always here if you do have questions about Illustrator and Photoshop or InDesign. For some reason we're using that. Probably not. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. I hope it showed you that like you can make cool stuff using simple shapes and simple ideas.
Thank you, Mike.